Welcome to the Project Management Prepcast, the direct route to PMP exam success. Here's your instructor, Cornelius Fichtner.
Hello and welcome back to the Project Management Prepcast. We are the gold standard in PMP exam preparation. I'm your instructor, Cornelius Fichtner. As a project manager, performing all of the work on your project is an impossible task. There's just no way that you would be able to do all of the work yourself. That is why you must practice the art of delegation. The focus of this lesson will be on explaining the difference between delegation and micromanagement, explaining the impact of micromanagement on your project team, list the qualities of activities that can and should not be delegated, name common mistakes in delegating, and explaining how to avoid these common mistakes. Delegation is not just telling someone what to do. It's about the growth, development, and empowerment of others. Generally speaking, delegation is good and can save money and time, helps in building skills, and serves to motivate people. So what is delegation? Delegation is the assignment or passing down of authority and responsibility to another person to carry out specific activities. This is normally carried out from a manager to a subordinate, and it empowers the delegated person with the ability to make the decision. However, the accountability for the outcome remains with the individual who delegated the work. In essence, delegation shifts the decision-making authority to a lower level. Delegation is one of the most important management skills. In fact, it is one of the core concepts of management leadership. Delegation is a very helpful aid for succession planning, personal development, as well as seeking and encouraging promotion in subordinates. The opposite of effective delegation is micromanagement. With this style of management, a manager provides too much input, too much direction, and too much review of delegated work. This over-involved style of management can be destructive to your team and your project. In particular, micromanagement is considered to be a management style where you as the project manager would closely observe and control the work of your project team members. You want to control the how, what, and when of every single aspect of the project because you simply cannot let go. You do not trust that the project team can do the work properly without your oversight. And of course, from this definition, you can see that generally micromanagement has a negative connotation. So how do you know that you have the tendency to micromanage people? Well, here are a few signs of micromanagement, because in general, micromanagers, they resist delegating. They want to do it all by themselves. They immerse themselves into overseeing the projects of others. They start by correcting tiny details instead of looking at the big picture, and they take back delegated work before it is finished if they find a mistake in it, as well as discouraging others from making decisions without consulting them first. Despite the generally good intentions of the micromanager's conduct, the potential negative effects of micromanagement can include team members that are frustrated or fearful even, the loss of employees, the self-esteem of the staff is negatively affected. It restricts the ability of the team to develop and grow. The organization's efficiency is also affected, and it limits what the team can achieve because everything must go through the micromanager. let's think about where the causes of micromanagement lie for a moment from the point of view of project management. I'm not just referring to the micromanager who does not have trust in his team, so he tends to hold things back. No. From a pure project management point of view, what would you say are the two main causes for project managers to become micromanagers? They actually fall into two categories. Firstly, it's simply those with poor management skills, and we include poor project management skills in this. And secondly, and mostly, those with poor leadership skills who lack vision and effective communication, to name just a few traits. So we now know those are the main causes of micromanagement on our projects. The next question is, what are we going to do about it? But before we can answer that question, we have to delve a little bit more into these two reasons and understand why this is happening and what exactly is going on. So some of the reasons for poor management are that good managers, they empower their employees. However, managers with poor management skills, they disempower their employees and hinder them from taking advantage of opportunities. A micromanager takes essential management practices to extremes, which interferes with the employee properly doing their work. Micromanagers exhibit the traits of being controlling, dictatorial, judgmental, and critical. The manager views himself as a doer, as opposed to being an overseer. Some of the reasons for poor leadership are that leaders tend to micromanage because they are afraid and fearful. They are afraid that if they do not hover over someone, the job will not get done. There is also a failure to sufficiently baseline the responsibilities and tasks, or there is an overly chaotic environment. Leaders establish the tone for the environment. There are times also when leadership has bad vision and pushes an agenda that no one buys into, or it just simply won't work. And lastly, there may be a need to appear more knowledgeable than everyone else, so the manager exudes personal control issues. There are a number of ways in which you can avoid being a micromanager, and I have 3 suggestions here for you. First of all, admit it. Simple enough, right? The first step to losing the label of micromanager is admitting that you have micromanagement tendencies. If you are serious about growth and development, you need to address being a micromanager and then implement measures to put an end to it. Second, solicit feedback from your managers and your staff. Once you realize that you may be a micromanager, you will want to determine if your actions are harmful to you and your team or merely necessary for the greater good of the organization. And third, identify the root cause of your micromanagement tendencies. A lack of trust or confidence can lead to micromanagement. For instance, starting with a new and unfamiliar team could be a reason to lack trust and confidence. If you find that you display tendencies that are harming your relationship with the team and potentially are making you an inefficient member of the organization, you may want to explore what is causing you to micromanage. If it wasn't apparent before, it should be quite obvious now that micromanagement has no value to the team or to the organization as a whole and should be avoided at all costs. Delegation, on the other hand, is vital for effective leadership, and delegation can be used as a dynamic tool for motivating and training your team to realize their full potential. Delegation underpins a style of management which allows your staff to use and develop their skills and knowledge for the full potential. Without delegation, you lose their value completely. So why should you as a manager want to delegate some of your work? After all, won't that make others think that you are not capable of doing the things for which you are responsible? Absolutely not. And the reason why not is here on the screen. It is the job of the manager to accomplish work with and through others. Until you involve others, you will probably struggle with your role as a manager or project manager. You will feel like you have more tasks than time to do them. You may feel overwhelmed by the workload and responsibilities. You may hate coming into work because facing the day is so difficult. You may even begin to have stress-related illness or relationship problems. In addition to the many personal reasons to learn to delegate, there are also many business reasons to learn to delegate, like the fact that more work can be accomplished. Direct reports become more involved. It helps you manage your workload. It is also a development of direct reports, and it builds a high-performance team. And of course, it reduces the stress of you yourself as well as your team. But it's clear that delegation takes practice and knowing what kinds of tasks can be delegated. You must realize that not all tasks can be delegated despite the abilities of your direct reports. The first step to delegation is therefore understanding, knowing, and deciding what to delegate. Yes, there are in fact some tasks that you must handle and you have total responsibility over, but there are others that can and should be assigned to others. Tasks that can effectively be given to others include tasks that are closely related to the work that the employees are already doing. Tasks with clearly defined procedures and end results. Repetitive tasks that fit into the normal workflow. Tasks that enable the self-development of the employees. Routine and necessary tasks including detail work and information gathering. And lastly, work where others are more qualified, such as proofing, research, and specialized technical work. But on the other hand, here are some suggestions of tasks that should not be delegated. Tasks that are uncertain and not clearly defined. When you are severely understaffed. Assignments that are personal in nature, or critical tasks that are expected to be handled by the project manager herself or himself, like long-term planning and goals, key decisions, crisis situations, or personnel matters, including salary, discipline, and other confidential activities. Now let's look at the process. How we delegate is more than merely appointing tasks and waiting for them to be completed. There is a proper workflow that you should follow. First of all, define the task. Confirm in your own mind that the task is suitable to be delegated. Does it meet the criteria for delegation? Then select the individual or team. What are your reasons for delegating to this person or to this team? What are they going to get out of it? What are you going to get out of it? Then assess ability and training needs. Is the other person or team capable of doing the task? Do they understand what needs to be done? If not, you can't delegate it to them. Explain the reasons to them as well. You must explain why the job or responsibility is being delegated and why to that person in particular. What is its importance and relevance? Where does it fit into the overall scheme of things? Then state the required results. What must be achieved? Clarify understanding by getting feedback from the other person. How will the task be measured? Make sure they know how you intend to decide that the job is being successfully completed. Also consider the resources that are required. Discuss and agree what is required to get the job done. Consider people, location, premises, equipment, money, materials, or other related activities and services. Then agree on the deadlines. When must the job be finished? Or if it's an ongoing duty, when are the review dates? When are the reports due? And if the task is complex and has parts and stages, what are the priorities? Confirm their understanding. Methods of checking and controlling must be agreed upon as well. Of course, you also need to support and communicate. Think about who else needs to know what's going on and inform them. Involve the other person in considering this so they can see beyond the issue at hand. Do not leave the person to inform your own peers of their new responsibility. Warn the person about any awkward matters of politics or protocol. Inform your own boss if the task is important and has a sufficiently large profile. And lastly, of course, you need to give feedback on the results. It is essential to let the person know how they are doing and whether they have achieved their goals. If not, you must review with them why things did not go to plan and deal with the problems. You must absorb the consequences of failure yourself and pass the credit for success to your subordinates. And as you proceed through these steps on how to delegate, also keep the following in mind. Make the entire delegation process as collaborative as possible. Keep the lines of communication open. Tailor your monitoring to the individual. Ask for regular progress reports. Take periodic samplings of their work. Provide timely feedback. Encourage solution-oriented thinking. Recognize that mistakes are simply part of learning and part of receiving some activity that's delegated down. And do celebrate successes, even the small ones. Also keep in mind that delegation is a two-way street. As you begin to delegate, you must remember that it's important to select the right person for the assignment and the job. You will then need to be prepared to work with that person on developing new skills that are necessary for effectively completing the work. Don't just hand it off to them and hope for the best. Help them succeed. Even with the best practices and putting forth the best efforts, there are some common mistakes that are made in delegation. They are, first of all, displaying an attitude to the workforce of, I can do this better myself. Delegating the tasks without providing all the necessary information to do the task successfully. Failure to require, receive, or utilize progress reports, or inattention to project completion and the tendency to just dump projects on people. And of course also the lack of respect for the employee's ambition. Because after all, when you delegate something to them, they want to do a good job. They want to move ahead in the world. Accept and support that. To avoid mistakes in delegation, you should believe in your employees' abilities. Provide the employees with all the necessary information to perform the task. Set specific times to check progress from the beginning of delegation through to completion. Encourage the employees to be creative and give their ideas about ways to complete the task. Take the time to plan the delegation. Pick the right person for the job and discuss the task and its expected outcomes. It's also good to get to know your employees. Find out their strengths, weaknesses, and their ambitions. If possible, support those ambitions and help them grow. Let's review. When applied properly, delegation is a win-win situation. Micromanagement is the opposite of effective delegation and can prove to be destructive. The main causes of managers becoming micromanagers fall into two categories: poor management and poor leadership skills. And micromanagement can be avoided by admitting it, soliciting feedback, and determining the root cause. Furthermore, delegation is essential for effective leadership, and it serves as a means of motivating, developing, and empowering employees to reach their full potential. However, not every task is appropriate for delegation. Delegation is also more than simply appointing a task and waiting for its completion. There are steps for successful delegation. And here is a sample question that you may find in a book or in an online PMP exam simulator. Which of the following fits the definition of delegation? Delegation is A. Closely observes and controls the work. Is it B. It shifts the decision-making authority to a lower level? Is it C. It shifts accountability to the one who has been delegated the work? Or is it D. It has negative connotations? I'll give you a few seconds again for this one. The answer is, of course, that delegation shifts the decision-making authority to a lower level. B is correct. And with that, we have come to the conclusion of our lesson here on delegation. So it's time for Justine to say,
Take care.
and of course I say, until next time.